Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the final vibe coding session of this Logos Bootcamp series. This is vibe code session number 3. We're going to be learning how to build a full stack Logos app. We're going to be joined by Danish, who is an ecosystem developer, a development engineer at Logos, and he's going to be covering the Logos, a bit more about the Logos blockchain messaging and all this, and how to build a full stack app this time. And hopefully Danish will be joining us. He should be I'll invite him up to be a panelist in a second. Hang on one second. Let me just. Yes, so this is the final session of the vibe coding workshops, full stack app now, and then we'll have a period of building, and this will allow you guys to hopefully get something tangible out of this. And oh, here we go. We've got Danish joining us now, and then at the end of that, we'll get some certificates for all you guys. There is one thing that you should note now, which is, can you update your platform page? Your display name should be the name that you want to have on your certificate. So if you've got a guest or something like that, the name, then make sure you update that to your name that you want to have in your certificate, and then I'll get all these certificates out to you at the end. I will chuck I can't actually remember if I've chucked a message on the Discord yet. I will chuck a message on the Discord with a bit more information on how to do this and the importance of it, so that we can make sure all you have the right certificates at the end of this. Okay, without further ado, I will hand over to Danish, and he will run you through a bit more of a vibe coding session. Okay, Danish, do you want to try and share your screen? Hopefully it should work.
Yes, sir. Hey, guys. All right. So I don't know, how many people do we have so far on the stream?
I can't actually see that. I get all of this at the end, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a Zoom boomer, so I don't know if there's a way for me to be able to see how many people are in. But yeah, maybe I'll pop this chat out, and all right, that's gonna take it with me. GM, everybody. Let's get a GM. Let's get a head count on how many people we have. All right, so before we sort of get into the vibe coding, the building aspect, this is the final workshop of the series that we've been doing over the last few weeks. So can we get an understanding of, can we get a yes or a no in the chat on, are we familiar with Logos? Are we familiar with building on LEZ, on storage, on messaging, on Dev Boost? Do we know what Dev Boost is? Logos Dev Boost? Can we make a few presumptions as we get into this session? If there's anything that perhaps did you play around with building on the ecosystem, if that's of interest to you, is there something that you're working on? Let's spend a few minutes. Let's just get an idea of who we are, what we're doing, what we're interested in, and then we can tailor the next hour or so accordingly. So in the chat, how do we feel so far? What are we interested about? Do we know what the different modules are, what the stack consists of? You just joined. Cool. So Armando, were you able to sort of attend the last few workshops, or is this your first workshop on knowing or just not knowing about logos? Johnny is working on putting messaging and storage in touch with an AI agent swarm. All right, Johnny, are you using Logos Dev Boost? Has that been handy? Not yet. Yeah, I mean, it should. Try it. So the way Logos Dev Boost works is it's a compilation of it's an MCP that has information on all the different pieces of tech stack in that you need to build a Logos app, right? So the idea is you set this up, and as you're coding with your agentic harness, this automatically um, has understanding of what documentation it needs to pull. So all you need to do is like give your product spec, and this will sort of do all the gluing together and the implementation planning sorts. And this is something we're going to experiment with today as well. So if you haven't tried it yet, we can try it together. Um, yeah. Yes, sir. This is the MCP. Awesome. Okay, cool. So do we know about what Pastebin is? So I was thinking we could do like a Pastebin app on Logos, on the Logos Basecamp. Do we know what Pastebin is? Right. The idea is we have something to share. We make a node. We do lorem ipsum. We can do some. Um, we can write some code, like whatever we want. There's a paste, and then you can just simply um, publish it, and this gets you a URL that you can share, and then this paste is um, shareable, right? And then there's a board of all the public paste, because if you, as in when you're creating a paste, you can password protect it. You can sort of have only selective, restricted access. And if you don't enable this, it's a public paste by default, and it'll show up. For example, this guy, I don't know, it's probably a scraper for his agent. I don't know, a bunch of X and Facebook posts. So here's the link. I mean, it's just pastebin.com, I think. Yeah, it is. So yeah, that's sort of the idea. Let's try to think of having Pastebin on the Logos app, and the idea is to sort of, it's not so much about what we're building, but seeing all the different pieces in the stack come together. So let's say we want to work on Pastebin, right? What do we need? What are some of the properties that are going to of this app, right? Users can create pastes, which are essentially just notes, right? Now these can be public or private. And for public, they get posted to a public announcement board of sorts, right? For the private ones, we could do a bunch of things here, but for simplicity, we could perhaps just have we can do it in a way that only get access with the URL, right, or a link. So if you have access to this link, is only how you can get access to that particular paste. And we could do some fun stuff here. We could, have we could encrypt our paste with a key, and then we could append the we could share the key, and then only if for the people who have the key can access it. And we could get creative here, but let's say for simplicity, for the sake of this, you only get access once there's a link. So which means that a paste creates a link as well, or rather a CID of sorts, an identifier that this is the paste. And um, we could we could use a few components here for people who are familiar with the Logos stack. As a quick TLDR, we could quickly look into what we have, what properties or what stuff we get access to. So the Logos tech stack is basically three things primarily. The Logos blockchain, right? Which is a chain where blocks get mined, and you can also in the context of our application, we could perhaps use the chain to put inscriptions of individual pastes. So let's say I create a paste. How is it? We could post an inscription on the chain that this paste was created at this timestamp with this particular metadata, right? We can look into what format we want. The second piece of the stack is logo storage. And storage is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be my first time building on storage, so it's going to be interesting to see if we can what the gap is. So for storage, we could, as pastes get created, they get stored on storage, and as users get on the app, they pull certain CIDs, these identifiers. They use these identifiers as lookups and pull these nodes from Logo storage. And the third is Logos messaging. Logos messaging is the live way, the WebSocket way, the peer-to-peer communication of messages. So let's say I am logged in, Alice is logged in, and Bob is logged in. Alice creates a paste. So let's look at the flow of what we want to do, right? Alice creates a public paste. Bob is on the platform doing whatever. As the paste is created, Bob sees Alice's public paste on the announcement board, right? As we see in Pastebin, I'm on here. There's this announcement section for all the public pastes. And so the last one I see is from 14 minutes ago. So having some sort of live view into what's happening. And then for offline, or for periods where you were offline and you want to fetch all the stuff that you missed while you were offline, we could use Logo storage, right? So going back to our spec of sorts, we could, for public pastes, Logos messaging, use Logos messaging. For live updates on the announcement board. For private pastes, just upload them to storage. And these can, we've already mentioned that they can only be accessed with a link, which means creates a link of sorts using a CID, right? And CID is basically a content address, like a identifier for your content. So we're using Logos messaging for the live updates. We're using storage for upload, like for storing these pastes, and let's reframe this a little bit. And for the blockchain, post the inscription of the paste created, and maybe some metadata, right? Are we familiar with what inscriptions are in the chat? Do we know what inscriptions are? I remember it, but I don't understand it. Yeah. So the idea is, I mean, it's pretty from Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, you can technically do that on any chain. So, for example, like we take this particular transaction, and we for each transaction you can add some sort of arbitrary text into your particular transaction or your block, and this could be gibberish. This could be an actual, um, uh, it could mean something. And um, so it's basically like having a proof of something on the chain, part of a transaction or a block. All right, medium's down. How many bytes? That's a good question. I don't know how much bytes Logos blockchains would support, but every chain has their own restrictions on how many bytes you can use. So this is a little unexperimented with. I don't. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we could use Logos blockchain to post the receipt of sorts of the paste that was created, and yeah, I think this is um, uh, enough of information to feed our agent to have it start writing some stuff. But how do we feel about this idea? I think it's a solid sort of it's small enough that it's simple enough, and it also sort of lets us see how different components of the stack sort of get merged together. And then of course we'll be using the Logos Basecamp app to have the UI plus the business logic of this app, right? Let's call it waste bin. So we take that, and yeah, let's go to our terminal. And for this, we'll experiment with Logos Dev Boost. Kudos to Yuri. He's put together this MCP server, which sort of has information about all the different pieces of the tech stack, and your agent should automatically find the right MCP or the skill to use. And in practice, you give it your product specs, and then it will figure out what needs to be used to build what sort of implementations we want. So we are going to be starting our new app. Looking at the commands, we want to scaffold a new project. That is correct. But what we want is a full app, right? So you could only have a backend, you could have a QML, but we want the full app. And the full app is essentially, let's see. Yeah, so the full app is a Logos module plus the UI. The Logos module is sort of like the business logic to your application, the backend, and then the UI is a QML-based UI that talks to your Logos module. So to get started, we go here and we init this. Let's call it what are we calling it again? Waste bin, right? And then the type for this is a full app. And at any point, if there's any confusion on what certain piece of the stack is, or why are we doing something, or if you missed a few sessions previously, because this session sort of concludes the series, so feel free to ask questions and we can figure it out together, hopefully. So we want a full app. Wait. My module, this is going to be the name. Next one, GitHub logos, code, logos, dev, boost, init, waste bin, type, full app. Is that correct? Should be. Huh. Wait, what am I missing? What am I missing? Did I make a typo somewhere? Waste bin, type is a full app, and let's cd into waste bin. All right, I probably made a typo somewhere. But yeah, so this initting with Logos Dev Boost created a new project for us. And if we cd into it, it's an agents.md file. There's a cloud.md file. There's two folders. There's a module and a UI, and project JSON, which is essentially type, name, description, the path to the module, the path to the UI, right? This is what it created for us. Now it should have access to, if I jump into my agentic tool, it should have access to my MCPs, ideally. Do we have, yeah, so you see, create full app, create a Logos full app. This is one of the skills that Logos Dev Boost added for me. Nix Flake setup. We use Nix throughout, so if there's confusion for the agent on how to configure Nix for a Logos module, there are these bunch of LGX, how to load a module, package a module. So a bunch of skills just like got auto-loaded into my open code or Claude code. Like if you use Claude code, or I think doesn't change anything. I don't have Claude code on this, but let's say if I use Cursor, right? Skills, we should see, maybe let's try Codex. But yeah, the idea is your agentic tool, whatever you use, Codex, Cloud Code, it should get access to all these skills. Now, coming back to the spec, will this session be recorded? I am not sure. It does actually. It gets posted on YouTube. So yes, this will be recorded. So, okay, we have this basic spec on what we want to build. Let's go back to our editor. I just want to call it editor at this point because opening an IDE just feels not as intuitive anymore. We are building, and let's waste bin. Users can create paste, public or private. Public gets posted to a public announcement board. Private only get access with the link. Logos messaging we use for public paste, live updates. Let's just retype it out actually, so that it's a better prompt than just a brain dump. We are building waste bin on Logos Basecamp. Waste bin, let's users create wastes similar to pastes from pastebin. There are two types of pastes, public and private. For public pastes, um, they are visible to everybody and to everybody. For private pastes, as each paste generates a CID of sorts, only users with that particular link or CID get access to the paste. Or we could just like do password protection, but link is simpler for now. Similar to password protecting your paste. And we should leverage Logos blockchain for inscriptions to the pastes. LEZ is just Logos execution zone. All right. So Logos blockchain or LEZ for inscriptions to the paste. Logos storage for storing the pastes, and Logos messaging for live updates to created pastes. There should also be a public tab for a feed of public pastes created. Eventually, let's package this into a Logos core module plus UI as a Logos and load it into Logos Basecamp, right? We're all familiar with what Logos Basecamp is, right? And at any point, please feel free to ask any questions of what any of this means. And I think this should be enough information for first, and let's actually switch to the planning agent. Let's let it figure out. One more thing actually I want to do is, I don't know if how useful this is, but I like to tell my agent to thoroughly look into everything that you might need so that it actually spend some time. I found it to be useful when you give it that open-ended prompt. Feel free to look into whatever GitHub repo, use relevant skills or MCPs, web search, etc., to be better tailored to handle request. All right. Yeah, let's let it do its thing. But we're gonna like keep checking what it's doing. We don't want it to go into a direction that's something we don't want. Yeah, make no mistakes. I haven't done that one in a long time, actually. So far, so good. I'm happy. Do volunteer to help me out if I get stuck somewhere on the way with DevBoost. So far, we want to build Pastebin, a Pastebin service on Logos Basecamp that supports public, paste visible, and private. That's correct, with a shareable link. Okay. You need to integrate Logos blockchain for inscription, Logos storage for persistence, and Logos messaging for real-time updates with a public feed tab to browse shared pastes. That's probably okay, fair. Before diving into the interview, I need to clarify several key architectural decisions. How paste will be stored? That's a good question. Okay, so it's created a to-do for itself. Research existing waste bin scaffolding state. So it's looking into probably the directories. It's already looked into it. Research logo storage module API. So it's looked into all the APIs and conventions and reference apps for the stack. Next is going to create a draft file. So what have you been experimenting DevBoost on, Thompson? How's it been so far? What are cow emojis? I don't know what cow emojis are. Oh, ASCII art? Is that what cow emojis are? Huh. Today I learned. I'm trying to build Logos DevBoost in the same time. But I think I will focus on your input, doing both simultaneously is not. What do you mean? 3 screens? Why do you need 3 screens? And you're trying to build Logos DevBoost, or do you mean you're trying to use DevBoost to build your app? What app are you using? Building, sorry. Right. So meanwhile, it has prompted us for a few questions. What should a paste contain? This affects the editor UX. Okay. So plain text plus title plus language. Yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean, it could just let's just keep it simple and just have title and raw text for simplicity. For private pastes, what security model we want to use? Unguessable CIDs. Get a long random CID. Anyone with a link can read. Sure. Yes. Let's keep it simple. But of course, like these are some of the things we can do. We can get creative with it. Perhaps somebody wants to play around for my repo that we'll create. Let's do it. Before we sort of let the agent go on, quick point for the repos that are scaffolded with DevBoost, we will need to build these out individually. And for that, we do need to initialize Git first. Waste bin module. We just use Nix to build it. So we do the same for waste bin. Which one did we build? We built the module, so we do the same for the UI. Yeah, let's just have that built out. Oops. Yeah. Okay, going back. What lifecycle features should paste have? Create only. Once created, paste cannot be edited or deleted. Sure. We can do an expiration. Anonymous paste, yes. Public feed, new paste, my paste. That's fine, but we could go simpler and we could just have a public feed and a new paste. Yeah, let's do TDD. I do prefer TDD, but I fear it's gonna slow us down. Let's YOLO it. Let's YOLO it. Let's go without tests. in the beginning. Let's just let it YOLO, and then we can manually verify what works, what does not work. So it's got these few sub-agents that are looking into different things. Just a small app to get the full UI and components flow. A hangman game with storage where winners get inscribed on chain. That's it. Okay. That covers most of the stack. That's pretty cool. What's hangman though? Guess the word based with clue. Foods. What? What? See, we're coding and we're vibing. I guess this is what we do when our agents are working. What is this? Where's level one? I don't know. That's cool. How has it been so far? Did you manage to get a module loaded in the UI? Um, what has what sort of process did you follow to, start making it? Where did you start? Did you start writing with a module or the UI or yeah? Because the stack is very like things are changing rapidly. So I'm just curious. I just keep asking people how they're building on logos right now. DevBoost is one of the more reliable um, tools to use, but I'm curious, what are you using to build on logos? All right, so it's written as a detailed draft. Two page types: public, private. Um, yep, that sounds right. Whatever. So the UI has a main.qml, pretty simple, just one file. The module is going to have the header, but I mean, .cpp, a test file, that's it, right? So one file, just one file. Um, oh, wait, this is our current scaffolding. This is not what it proposes to do. Was the maximum body size? Yeah, let's keep it 10K lines of text. I think that should be more than enough. Never 1 hour. Yeah, sure. For the expiry. How should my page work in a given module? Local state only persisted. This is interesting. We could expand on this and add identity into it. But for now, let's just keep local. Last 100 paste, backfill 7 days via store query. Um, store query. Sure. So it's essentially saying is how much do we want to. I don't know if store query will work, but we're YOLOing it after all. Let's see if it's going to work. What's the deliverable scope for the work plan? Module plus UI working, runnable via standalone app, both next buildable. Let's actually go for the entire LLGX packaging. What that means is we can load it as a module in our Logos Basecamp. Matches proceed. Module is targeted, paste create, store module upload file, return CID, relay publish. That's perfect. Both modules and UI live as separate processes as this match your mental model. Yeah, that sounds good. Repo for the logos storage module. It knows what the storage module is. It knows what the messaging, what repo is it going to use for messaging. Yeah. There's another module that I have personally had good experience with for Logos messaging. It is called Logos Delivery. Yeah, this is the one. This is more outdated. So maybe create a PR to use Logos Delivery module in the Dev Boost repo instead of Logos Vaku module. But yeah, I think we should be fine. Team, some UI stuff. Yeah, but the idea is that it has access to all the different it knows where to look at. All we did was give it a product spec prompt, and we mentioned it what module and how we want to use it. So what we're giving it is a high level picture of what we want to get built. And because of all the skills that DevBoost gives us in our scaffolded project, it knows exactly where to look and find the right documentations and how things should be structured and packaged. So there's no C++ API today for writing LEZ inscriptions. All right, so there's a Zone SDK API. The available C++ module only expose read and wallet ops. How should we handle the LEZ requirement? What are some of the recommendations? Yeah, I guess we'd have to write a bridge from Rust to C++ and have a FFI. Like we basically need a way for C++ to talk to Rust, which it correctly mentions is going to be heavy. Okay, so we could skip inscriptions for now and have it there, but like just get it stubbed. But you get the idea. I mean, if we go down this route, it's not that trivial to have an FFI, but it is. We can get there given enough time, which we, in the interest of time, let's just see how this sort of glues together right now. For verification order, should we declare a Logos blockchain module as a dependency for now? More than sure. Let's do this, and I'll finish my thought. For now, for plan generation, no, looks complete. Sure, add a copy button. That's nice. Settings preferences now, paste preview and feed now. Sure. Okay. So, as it's sort of getting us deeper into the implementation designs of the app, we've asked it to build. The cool part is we did not prompt it to any particular GitHub repositories, any particular SDKs, any particular APIs. And you might say, well, if you're building on Ethereum, if you want to set up your RPC or you want an SDK to work with, if you're using TypeScript, you're like, oh, I already know Ethers exists. Or if you're using Rust, you're like, okay, I know Anvil exists. But for Logos blockchain, it's you're still getting used to what exists. Things are getting built out, and you might want to scrape different docs to understand what's happening. But the idea with DevBoost is it gets your agent to automatically look for what is the correct path, and this is maintained by the Logos team. So you can expect it to, be just a fair source of truth. But of course, you could also just go YOLO yourself and manually figure out things. So these are some of the skills that it has to create a C++ module, wrapping an external C++ library, to create a UI app for Basecamp, how Nix flakes, because Logos uses Nix flakes, which is a specific feature under Nix, tackling the builds. Basically, most of the things that you would need when you're building on Logos, and all you can focus on is perhaps um, giving it the product spec and let it rip, you know. But it would be naive of me to say that knowledge of what's happening, what the AI is doing, is not required. Um, but a lot of things can be figured out as you go, right? As it's sort of ripping, you can sort of see what it's doing. Okay, for it founded a critical finding because we need the zone SDK, and that's in Rust, and we're using C++, so we need to have an FFI bridge. Um, okay, that makes sense, and then you move on. But it's created a bunch of to dos, and we should have something by the end of it. If I could fast forward this right now, I would. Um, but we'll stick around for a bit. We'll see how this goes. But looks like it's in the right direction, because if we look at the subagents and what they're reasoning with, we can understand it. Found the storage module GitHub, and UI. It understood reference patterns on how to write the code for Logos chat module. Um, it found, again, a reference. So this subagent found references. What is this subagent working on? This was the planning agent. It's consulting for the plan. And a lot of it is just going to be looking at what your agents are doing and seeing if this works. But I'm going to go back to some of what's happening in the chat. I use my own pipelines every morning. I collect and process all comments from the Logos projects and land them in tagged skills. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Logo skills. Yeah, I mean, this is an MCP server with a bunch of skills that you can use when you're developing on Logos. It'll automatically understand the APIs, docs, reference applications. For the MCP, I need to incarnate the skills into my swarm. It may take some time, but I noticed there is no license file. Yeah, I mean, this was a pet project by Yuri, and it turned into a lot of people vouched for this, and it turned into, it's still officially a pet project of his, but we are gonna promote using it. Otherwise, I'm sure there are we were in the works of a lot of doc packets and of gurus on the call, but there are official docs that you can use, right? For right, so there are build instructions on how to use the app for Logos execution. These are pretty well structured, so even if you don't use Logos, I would still suggest you skim through these if you're interested in being in the Logos ecosystem, building on it. So setting up a wallet, for how do you set up a wallet, right? Transferring tokens, liquidity pools, running the blockchain node, using storage. So it does have docs that you can use. Yes, but yes, it was started as a pet project, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does not have a license. Yep. Yeah, my default's a high reasoning model, so it's really, um, going into verifying everything works before everything makes sense before it starts building out. Um, but looking at the direction, what's it up to? So it's looking into the implementation, the details that were drafted, and it's assessing, looking at different SDKs, because we have to understand we've given it a task which is use three SDKs, right? We use Logos messaging, Logos storage, Logos blockchain. Use three SDKs, then use Basecamp, um, write it in C++, write the UI in QML, use all of these different things, and then glue them together. So there's a lot going on. If you're starting to build out, a better way for you to do it is going to be you break it down into tasks and then you approach it one by one. But what what we can see with confidence here is it does understand all the parts of the puzzle, right? Um, it's just like a bunch of agents fighting with each other with their own opinions at this point. I said this. No, Metis said this. Metis has done its own analysis, and it does not agree with what Sisyphus proposed. Um, so we let them fight out. We let them argue. And a lot of, yeah, hopefully no cloud outage today. A lot of, um, in the past few workshops, Guru talked about, how you can load modules into the Basecamp. If you haven't seen that, I urge you to. James talked about the, what Logos is. He deep dived into the architecture, the stack, and there are these bunch of these workshops. So the presumption with today's workshop is that you've seen those, you understand what the ecosystem is, how you build on it, what the Logos Basecamp app looks like. Even if we don't see a module working today, I'll still, like, once this sort of ends, I will push it onto a Git repo. I can actually create a Git repo right now, and then it will be updated once this workshop ends. And yeah, we've seen a bunch of things. So for people who haven't seen it and are interested in, if you're here, I assume you are interested in something that Logos is doing. And if that is so, I urge you to look at some of the um, uh, workshops, put them into 1.5x and just watch them, you know. And you can actually skip through all of this when you're watching a recorded video. But we're also right on time in a few minutes. So I don't think this is going to end in 6 minutes, or rather 15 minutes at all. So I would rather put a pin here. Let's push it to GitHub, whatever we have so far. And this is the repository that will, you know what? Let's just have our agent do it. Why not, right? Commit and push to a new GitHub repo. Yeah. So once you push this to GitHub, I'll share a link. Meanwhile, if we've got a few minutes left, and I would rather spend them on interacting, on answering any questions, on workflows, on any burning questions you might have, burning or not burning, actually. So, do we have any questions? Are we confused about something? Are we interested in something? That is true. That is true. That's what a bunch of processors and RAM consumption and electricity and internet bytes are working on. But this is where I will upload the version that this agent commits. Yeah, do you see anything that you have questions about, might need clarity about? There have been two vibe coding sessions part of this series. Um, how much will I pay for agents to build all of these from scratch? Um, all of these, do you mean like this entire workflow? How much will that cost? Um, or build something else? It's private. Oh, thank you for the heads up on that. I will quickly change that to public. Change visibility, change to public. Yes. All right, I need to do this. I don't have my UV key with me. '93. All right, it should now be public. These 1 hour sessions are dense and close from each other. Next time, some 15 minutes on top and some more time between would be nice. 15 minutes on top and some more time between. Um, I'm not sure what that means. Can you phrase that again? That project, I don't know. I will. How much have we spent so far? We spent like $4 already. I am on Anthropic's API usage, so it is expensive. Codecs are more generous. OpenAI is more generous with their token consumption, token limits. But I anticipate spending at least like what, 20 $20 would be a good day. Honestly, I don't want to spend more than $20, but we'll see. I will post it in the GitHub README of when this completes. I'll post a screenshot. The sessions, they were on Mondays and Wednesdays, only 1 day in between. More days. Right. Fair. Yeah, I mean, you can follow these at your own pace. They can be really dense. I totally see. I totally see that. You can. These are going to be on YouTube, so you can definitely do them at your own pace. And for um, for any questions that you might have, of course, like we're here right now, we're live. We can chat about stuff, but you can also join the Discord. We're pretty active there. Let's see if I can send an invitation. All right. So if you're not all on the Logos Discord already, I'm on the Discord, right? So yeah, for any questions, you can message on Discord. We should be prompt. There are also office hours that happen every week or every 2 weeks. Show up and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Danish, and thank you everyone as well for joining us. Hopefully you learned something and that was insightful, and you can get building now because we have a period of building before the end of this program, which finishes in, what is it, about 2 weeks now, maybe just over. So we have a building period now. Office hours are going to continue. So if you do have any questions, make sure you head over to Discord. And I'm just going to reiterate my point about the certificates for those who weren't here earlier. Make sure your display name on the platform is the same name which you want to have on your certificate. You can change that in the settings on your platform account. And then once this is all over, I will issue you guys all your certificates of completion. So well done for doing that. And hopefully we'll see some cool projects out of this. That's about it from me. Thank you very much, Danish. And I'll see you guys on the Discord and everything like that. All right. Adios, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. See you around.